Hey, what's up YouTube? Hyperdark19 here bringing you another Breaking the Meta segment on the continuing saga of my quest to perfect my Quickdraw deck. And this is a very new version of the deck. I've just been recently testing it out on Dueling Network and against some friends, and it seems to be working very, very well, even more so than my original build and slightly altered build that I've showed you already. So I'm going to go through the deck once again. I'm sorry if I'm like beating a dead horse here, but I think that this deck has a lot of promise, and I just want to keep you guys up to speed with its progress. So in case you're interested. So alright, without further ado, here we go with the deck list. First of all, I'm going to start with the traps in this instead of the monsters. I'll do the monsters second. I'm going to start with the traps because that's the part of the build that changed the most. From my original 7 or 8 trap cards, I think, I'm now down to just 3 trap cards, and those 3 are 3 copies of Royal Decree. Now, in case you hadn't figured it out yet, Royal Decree is the bomb in this format because everybody, without Heavy Storm around and only 2 MSTs and Giant Trunade really for back row hate, everybody is playing lots and lots of back row. A lot of the decks out there like right now, like Gravekeepers and Plant Synchro and Tech Genus, are extremely trap heavy. So Royal Decree really shuts down a lot of their options and a lot of their aggressiveness, and we leaves them if they have like 3 back rows first turn. On first turn, Royal Decree can literally leave them dead in the water for whatever you're going to do. So Royal Decree is a very, very good option against today's meta, and I don't know, it may get better, it may get worse, but I really like Royal Decree in this build because it pretty much protects all the combos that I have with summoning synchro monsters and whatnot from traps like Solemn Warning, Solemn Judgment, Mirror Force Torrential, because those cards can really ruin your day with a kind of deck like this. So once again, Royal Decree I've found is a great, great card to shut down those threats and just help you go crazy. Now, moving on to the monster lineup, hasn't changed a little bit, but hasn't really changed all that much. First of all, 3 copies of Junk Synchron, standard tuner for this deck. Recursion effect is very, very nice. Gets back a lot of stuff. Pretty much a key to the deck, one of the MVPs. And then next up we have 2 copies of one of the other MVPs, Quickdraw Synchron. This card pretty much lets you get any Synchron warrior monster from your extra deck. I'm talking about, of course, Nitro Warrior, Junk Archer, not Junk Warrior, that's mostly Junk Synchron's job, but Drill Warrior, Junk Destroyer, pretty much anything that's above 5 stars. So yeah, Quick Draw is definitely a great tuner to have. Next up, 1 copy of Debris Dragon, just the 1. I really haven't felt the need for 2 copies because probably it's going to get limited to 1 on the next ban list, I think, anyway. So Debris Dragon is definitely a great card as well for obvious reasons. I mean, it's just broken. You know how good Debris Dragon is. Then lastly, for my tuner lineup, I have teched in a copy of Effect Veiler, as I showed you in one of my previous videos. I didn't really think it was that great going to be that great at first, but Effect Veiler is actually very, very good. I know a lot of people know that before I did, but I just didn't think it would work in this build, but it really does, because not only does it protect you from card effects, but it's a level 1 tuner that you can get back with Junk Synchron or Debris Dragon, and that can synchro with tokens or tuning rares for Formula Synchron, which is something that I really hadn't used much in this deck up until now, so gives you access to Formula, and is just a great card overall, so I really like Effect Veiler, is the verdict. Next up, we have the engine, the draw engine of the deck in monster form, 3 copies of Tuning Wear. I play 3 copies because I play Machine Dupe for obvious reasons. Tuning Wear is a great card. It can be a level 1 or a level 2 if its effect is active. Also, regardless of whether or not its effect is active or it's being negated by one of your tuners, you draw a card when you synchro summon with it, so it's just a great card overall. Next up, also a Machine Dupe target, we have 3 copies of Cyber Valley. Cyber Valley is good, very good in this deck, but it's more important now than ever, because with 3 Royal Decrees as your trap lineup, you're running a little low on the defensive capability, so not only does Cyber Valley help you draw cards, but can also help you stall which is kind of makes up for the fact that you're not playing a whole lot of traps. Next up, we have 2 copies of Doppel Warrior. I cut it down to 2 from the original 3 because having 2 was a little bit much in my opinion. And seeing as I no longer play Dark Armed, and with the extra milling abilities that I have in the deck now, and discarding abilities as well, this 2 copies is pretty much enough in my opinion. But Doppel Warrior is a key card, and I really love it. Next up, another change, we have 2 copies of Raikou, Lightsworn Hunter. I was previously not playing this card in the build, but now I am, and I'm really loving it. It gives me an offensive edge, that I didn't have before, other than Card Trooper, and just the ability to destroy a card and then mill is great. Also, it gives me access to Frozen Fitzgerald, which was a synchro that I hadn't been able to previously use. With Junk Synchron in this guy, it's really easy. And I'll show you Fitzgerald later. He's really cool, so it's worth playing Raikou just for that. I love Raikou. Next up, of course, the standard 2 copies of Card Trooper. Not much to say about this guy. Pumps up to a pretty decent 1900 beat stick, mills your cards. Floater, it replaces itself if it gets destroyed. Great card overall. Summonable with Debris Dragon as well, so that's a +2. Dandelion for obvious reasons, again. Pretty much a standard card in a quick draw build, so yeah, can't live without your dandies. Or a dandy, as the case may be. And then, last but not least, for the monsters, we have Sangan, simply because it's Sangan. I mean, pretty much everyone runs it anyway. It searches out any monster in the deck, so yeah, obvious reasons, very valuable. And last but not least, we have the spell lineup, which is hefty now that I only have 3 traps, so you'll see. Start off with the staples. We got Reborn, staple. Darkhold, staple. You play it. Giant Trunade, staple. I don't run MSTs still because Trunade and 3 Decrees, with all the draw power in this deck, pretty much gives me all the stoppage power I need, so no MSTs in here. Book of Moon, pretty much, like I said, makes up for the lack of defensive traps. I added this in to compensate for that, and it stops your opponent's synchro shenanigans before they happen, stops you from getting killed by a big attacker, possibly. Book of Moon's a really useful card, and it can't be negated by Royal Decree, which makes it really useful. Next up, Mind Control. I wasn't previously using this, but as I found out, it's a really great card in this. Gives me even more power to be aggressive than I was before, and it really works, not so much with Quick Draw, but with Junk Synchron, or maybe even Debris Dragon. It's a great combo. Also Effect Veiler, because level 1 with anything pretty much gives you a free Synchro, so Mind Control is great in this deck. Then I upped from 1 copy to 2 copies of Pot of Avarice, because this deck goes through monsters so quickly now that I really need a second to help me reload not only the monsters from my deck, but my Synchros as well. So, and it gives me a lot of extra draw power. Pot of Avarice is a broken card in my opinion. I really hope it doesn't get limited to 1 or anything. But if it does, I mean, I guess I could compensate with something else, but this card is fantastic. And next up, we have 2 copies of Machine Dupe for obvious reasons. Cyber Valley, Tuningware, Abuse, basically, which is what this deck really revolves around. Machine Dupe is a key card. If you get it, you can more than likely make your explosive plays happen. Great card. Then we have 2 copies of Tuning, the Synchron Searcher, for, like I said, search out the Synchrons. It also gives you a free mill, which is nice. Pretty much your Rhoda. Speaking of which, 1 copy of Reinforcements in the Army, Rhoda, because it searches out your Doppel Warriors and your Junk Synchrons, which are pretty much your main players in the deck, so it's a very useful card overall. Foolish Burial for dumping anything you need to the graveyard, be it a Dandelion, a Tuningware, maybe even a Tuner because you want to recycle with Drill Warrior, I don't know. But whatever you need, it's there for you with this card. And then last but not least, in the spell lineup, we have, since I was using Decrees, I had to find a replacement for Reckless Greed, so I went with 3 copies of Hand Destruction. Now, you may think that this card is not as good as Reckless Greed, but think again, because not only does this allow me to get rid of dead cards in my hand, like Tuningwares, Doppel Warriors, some Pot of Avarices that I don't need, other cards that are dead, maybe an extra copy of Royal Decree, another copy of Hand Destruction even. It seems like a minus, but with all the pluses in the deck, it really balances this card out. Also, this card has the ability to sometimes help your opponent, but more often than not, can significantly disrupt your opponent's strategy, especially if they're playing Dark Worlds, because they can't work with this card. So yeah, Hand Destruction was a really good choice for this deck, and I'm really liking it so far. Now, I know I'm running out of time. I'll just move on to the extra deck real quickly for brief explanations. I won't take too long. First off, like I said, I can now play Formula Synchron. Great card, gives me even more draw power. Easy to make with Effect Veiler and tokens, or even Tuning where I get a free double draw. Yeah, so Formula is a pretty good addition. Next up, we have Armory Arm. I'm considering taking this guy out for a second copy of Drill Warrior. I'm down to 1 Drill Warrior right now. I'm considering taking this guy out. I haven't been using him that often, but I really do like Armory Arm, and he's there if I need him, so for now I'm keeping it in. We'll see how it goes. Next up, Junk Warrior, for obvious reasons. The shenanigans between Junk Synchron and Doppel Warrior makes this guy a 3100 attacker right off the bat. Plus, if you have Rykos or Tuning Wares on the field, he gets even stronger, so really a great card. Very underrated in my opinion. Cataster, for obvious reasons, he's a great staple. 5 stars, easy to make. Frozen Fitzgerald, for those of you who don't know what this card does, if it attacks, it has the Ancient Gear effect, which means your opponent can't use Mirror Force, Deprison, or other things like that to stop its attack. It's got 2500, which is great for a 5-star. Also, if it would be destroyed in battle and it's the only card on the field, you can discard a card from your hand to summon it back in defense position. 2500 defense, not a lot of things are getting around that. Even 2500 attack as well, you could say the same thing. So this guy's really good. The only way you can really get him is the Junk Synchron Ryko combo. But running 1 copy, this guy's really worth it. I really like him. I think you should try it out. Next up, for the 6 stars, 1 copy of Drill Warrior. This guy is an abuse machine. One of my favorite cards, and one of the most broken cards ever printed, in my opinion. Drill Warrior is good when he was printed. He's still good now, especially with Royal Decree to protect him from torrentials, warnings, and bottomless, and all that. Great card, absolutely fantastic. Don't really need to explain much. Junk Gardna, I've been through this card before. It's a great defensive wall. Fills the 6-star gap with Junk Synchron, and like I said, great defender. Has some pretty decent effects. 2600 defense. Like I said, not a lot of stuff getting around that, so pretty good card overall. Underrated also, I think. Because I'm playing Ryko with Debris Dragon, I had to add a 6-star dragon, so Iron Chain is it. Iron Chain, until Orient Dragon comes out, Iron Chain is my easy answer to 6-star dragon with Debris and Ryko play. So yeah, Iron Chain's a pretty good card, 2500 attack, good beater. He's there if I need him. Then, pretty much standard, 2 copies of Black Rose. With Debris Dragon in the deck makes Black Rose shenanigans, especially with Dandelion, even more plausible. So, great card, can be reloaded with Pot of Avarice. You get the drift, Black Rose is awesome. Also for 7 stars, Nitro Warrior and Junk Archer for the quick draw combinations with 7 stars. Both of these cards are really good in the right situations, and I really like both of them. So I've thought about replacing one or the other with Junk Berserker, but so far I'm not really a huge fan of Junk Berserker. I like Nitro Warrior more. So yeah, I'm sticking with these guys for now. Pretty good cards overall. Probably the MVP synchro of the deck, 2 copies of Junk Destroyer. This card is amazing. If you haven't tried it out, you really should, especially with the combos in this deck with Tuning Ware, Machine Dupe, Junk Synchron, or Quick Draw for that matter. It's really awesome. So, especially with Royal Decree and nothing to stop him, this card is a machine, and I really love him. And last but not least for the synchros, Stardust Dragon. Like, what can I say? Standard, good to have around in any situation. Pretty good card almost all the time. Stardust is cool. Stardust is really cool, excuse me. Alright, that's pretty much it for the deck. Send me your thoughts, comments, subscribe to me, rate this video, please. Anything would be helpful. So, yeah, I'm planning on taking that deck to a tournament next time I go. So, once I do, we'll cross my fingers, we'll see how it goes. So, until next time, rule the meta, don't let the meta rule you. Peace out, YouTube.